Welcome to the Goldman's podcast.
Today we're digging into some really fascinating research from Goldman Sachs on Shenzhen Envicool technology.
Right, and our mission here is to unpack how just the incredible demand for AI is creating this massive and potentially very profitable shift in how we cool servers.
So the big idea is that we've kind of hit a wall.
We've completely hit a wall. I mean, the heat from these new AI chips, traditional air cooling, just can't handle it anymore. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
And that necessity is reflected in the market size projections, which are frankly a little staggering.
They really are. You're looking at a total addressable market, or TAM, for server cooling that's expected to go from around US $7.9 billion in 2025 to US $14.0 billion in 2026.
Wow, that's almost double in a single year.
Exactly. That's a 77% year-over-year growth projection. It's because the physical limits have been reached. Liquid cooling is now the key that unlocks the next generation of computing.
So this brings us to the actual technology. I think a lot of us just assume cooling is a solved problem, but this suggests it's now the main bottleneck.
It is. And the adoption rate shows just how urgent the problem is. If you look specifically at AI training servers, the really high-power ones, liquid cooling penetration, is set to jump from just 15% in 2024
15%, okay, pretty niche.
to 74% by 2026.
74. So it becomes the default in just 2 years.
It becomes the only option, and that's driven by these huge full-rack AI servers like the GB200 and the new A6 servers.
So if adoption is spiking like that, where is the money actually going? Is it just more, pipes and pumps?
Well, yes and no. The value is shifting to much more sophisticated components. We're talking about things like cold plates that sit right on the chip and manifolds.
And the big one, the CDU, right? The chilled distribution unit.
That's the heart of the system. It's the pump, the heat exchanger, the brain. It's a far more valuable piece of hardware than an old air handler.
So for a company like Envicool, they need to win in that high-value CDU space. What's their plan to actually grab that market share?
Their goals are, let's say, ambitious. They're projecting they can go from 1% of the global market in 2025 to 7% by 2028.
7%. How do you do that? You'd have to be deeply integrated with the big players.
You have to be. And they are. They're noted as an NVIDIA MGX ecosystem partner, which is a huge stamp of approval.
Okay, so that's a partnership, but what about actual hardware? Are they shipping things that are going into these systems today?
They are. They've already started shipping quick disconnects, which are, critical little valves into the NVIDIA supply chain.
Right.
And maybe more importantly, they've released a new CDU design based on Google's Deschutes 5 specs.
So they're designing for the biggest customers out there. When do those orders start to show up in the revenue numbers?
The expectation is new orders, like from Google or other ASIC makers, will come in the first half of 2026, with big shipments starting in the second half.
And that kind of timeline must translate to some really aggressive financial forecasts.
Oh, absolutely. The Goldman forecast is for 79% revenue growth and an eye-watering 127% EPS growth in 2026.
127%. Okay, now the valuation makes a little more sense. It's trading at, 73 times forward earnings?
Something like that. And look, the market is already pricing in that kind of explosive growth. You have to deliver that number just to justify the current price.
And Goldman seems to agree, raising their price target by almost 50%.
Right, up to RMB 121.1. It shows a lot of confidence in that execution story.
Of course, a high-growth story like this always has major risks attached.
It absolutely does. I mean, any slowdown in R&D with a key customer like NVIDIA, tougher than expected competition, a problem in their energy storage business.
Or just geopolitics.
Or geopolitics. Any of those could derail the whole thing.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a really interesting final thought. The current share price seems to have already baked in Envicool hitting about 6% global market share by 2028.
That's the base case, yeah.
So the question is, what's the upside if they really knock it out of the park? What if they hit the bullish case of, say, 15% market share?
Well, the research suggests that could imply another 80% upside in the valuation.
It just goes to show the future of AI doesn't just depend on the chip.
No.
Yeah.
The bottleneck isn't the silicon anymore, it's the plumbing.